Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Handyman. It's Josh here, if you don't recognize me. It's time to work on the white clusterfuck of a Jeep again. Last thing I was doing, if you've been following the videos, or maybe you've seen all of them depending on when this one in particular gets uploaded compared to the others. Should be at least after the old ones, I hope. Otherwise I fucked up a lot. But I still need to do this side rocker panel, and then I've also purchased some white tinted Modster liner to then just do a coating of the bottom section of the Jeep on both sides, since I also need to do the dog leg on both sides, and on the other side I just coated it with black bed liner for now, which works but doesn't look quite as good as just having something white all the way across. I did purchase Duplicolor Stone White, which is what this color is, but I'm not a good enough auto body technician or mechanic to really warrant using that kind of paint, so I'm going to end up using a bed liner on it, at least white anyways. So I've taken a look at my supplies. I need to make a run down the Tractor Supply to buy some cutoff discs and some flap discs so I can actually get the job done. But first thing I have to do after that, of course, is take out the interior. This time I'm not going to take the entire interior out because I don't need to. I'm only going to take the passenger side out and then throw a blanket over everything to keep it clean. I'll end up just taking the carpet and rolling it back over the center console and pile everything in the back of this one. I don't need to bother putting it in the red Jeep like I did last time. And the red Jeep's actually usable now, so I might end up using it, because I have the entire week off for vacation again, which is exciting. And right now it's Saturday. Hopefully I'll have this all done, or I plan on having this all done by Monday, so I'll have the entire week to just do odds and ends on the red Jeep that's down over there, and yeah, do as I please. Alright, I am over here just figuring out my course plan, or course of action. The outside's not much different. I just took apart the dogleg area a little bit. I just peeled the tape back and took the trim piece off, and then pulled back the fender flare a little bit to see what I'm working with back there a little bit better. It's a mess, but you know, it's not any different than the other side was, really. As you can see, I have the interior half apart, which is what I was going for. And my rusty Rust-Oleum bed liner is still holding up well. Just been thinking a little bit, and what I've decided to do, since the panel is overall in good shape, but it gets pretty thin in a lot of places here, and especially back over there where the hole is. So what I'm going to do is take and cut along this seam piece right here all the way across, and that'll be a nice straight line all the way across for me to cut on. Goes in front there too. I'll have to separate the seat bracket, which is fine. That doesn't take too long, and it's not too hard. Then in here, of course, because of Chrysler's quality control, or the A-pillar bracket and the inner rocker meat, of course, doesn't line up from the factory, so that's perfect. Down here there's a little bit of some interestingness thanks to Chrysler as well. This is where the two panels meet. There's about 3 or 4 pieces of metal all coming together there at once, so that's nice. But all that will come out as well and fix up all those holes, because I have, you know, a brand new panel. Now, I didn't really know this before, but because these are key parts panels, they do not line up exactly correctly with factory. This works out just fine. That's what the seatbelt attaches to. This, however, there's supposed to be a nut on here, which is what the rear seat mounting tab it connects to. There's a bolt that goes, well, it's kind of it's a Torx head bolt that goes through, gets threaded into a nut that's supposed to be there. And then the rear seat has a clipping thing that just clips onto the shaft of the bolt. So of course I'll have to find a nut to weld onto that, so that, you know, can work like it's supposed to. For the outer rocker panel, I'm going to do pretty much the exact same thing I did on the other side. I'm going to cut along this seam and just weld across. This I can actually clean up. I thought it was going to be all the way through. It actually isn't. It's actually very solid. This is just the paint bubbling off with some surface rust underneath. And then under there I'm just going to have to go up and across to meet the top part of the outer rocker panel. And then of course the dogleg, which has a smaller hole out here than the other side, but is going to require some more work back there than the other side did. So, sounds like loads of fun to me. I'm going to cut that inner rocker panel out right next. Alright, it is now Sunday. This morning, it actually had been starting to rain, so I lost a few hours today, so this will spill over into at least tomorrow, which is Monday. But I went on the other side and ground off all of the panel sealant that comes from the factory so I could weld to my panel down here. And I had also gone and broke off the weld nut for the rear seat attachment and just welded onto this plate to take care of that. So I've done a little bit of adjusting to the panel, or the inner rocker panel, yeah, so it fits in there nice. What I'm about to do is just clean everything up again, make sure it's as good as it's going to get, and then just going to throw a quick coat of my weld through primer on this. And then I also am going to mark the line, or actually not mark the line, yeah, actually do mark, that's what I mean, mark the line across halfway where the floor seam is going to hit, so I can grind that off and then throw some weld through primer on the back of the inner panel as well, so we're all good there. And then after that comes the joy of making a nice piece panel to fit there and fix this mess over here. Alright, I'm part of the way, actually probably like 3/4 of the way of getting the inner rocker panel all welded in. I've been welding it from the inside. Let's see. I have almost the entire seam welded all the way, and I have just this little bit in the middle here of the floor to weld to the outer rocker panel. It's actually been going pretty well. But I figured I'd come and give you an update halfway instead of all of a sudden showing back up at the end and being like, ah, it's done. So I've changed my mind a little bit about the sequence with which I'm going to put things back together. The next thing I'm going to do instead of this is actually going to be the outer rocker panel. I'm going to get that fit, and I'm going to make that, or get that all welded in. And then last, I'll do this panel over here. So I'm going to finish up that inner rocker panel piece and come back later. Alright, it's all welded in there now. And so far I've just thrown a quick coat of rusty metal primer on it. You can't really see, but this side is painted as well, or primed anyways. Alright, next up is the outer rocker panel. As I had explained about my change in plans, I'm going to do this part next. So that means I have to cut it to fit. So, similar, almost exactly to the other side actually. I'm going to cut the front of it off here, all the way across, and then I'll make a cut along this seam right here, which will be, or will match up to where I cut on the Jeep. And then approximately 41 inches down, there's another line here, where I'll then come up and go across this way to match up with how the top of this panel on the Jeep still exists, if that makes sense. So, I'm not going to film cutting it because it's boring, but I'm going to get myself all strapped in and do some cutting. Alright, I have the outer rocker panel all set and ready to go. I have taken and done a quick coat of Rust-Oleum truck bed liner on the inside of it. Now, believe it or not, I have found that this truck bed liner actually stands up pretty well to being welded against. Obviously, like on the very edge here where I'm going to end up welding, it probably will burn off, but it will stand up pretty good to heat, you know, down in here and whatnot. So I've coated the inside of it with some truck bed liner. Over here, obviously, the inner rocker panel is all set and ready to go. I think I showed you that last time. And I have also gone and coated the inside up over here with truck bed liner and whatnot. What I'm getting ready to do is punch some holes so I could do some spot welds along the pinch seam here. Now I have gone ahead and gotten myself a new air punch because the one I brought from Harbor Freight broke. So this one I spent a lot more money on, but it is much better. Along this pinch weld on the bottom of my rocker, on the other side I did every 6 inches or so if I could. Sometimes they're a little bit closer together if there happened to be a hole that would line up with one of these slots right here. There might be a couple that are only a few inches apart, so I want to mark out every 6 inches and punch a hole there, and then set up the welder and get ready to go. Holy crap, that was actually a Jeep video on the channel for the first time in quite a while. But anyways, make sure you give the video a like, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and others. Leave us a comment if you're a returning member, and make sure you share this video with all your friends, of course if you have any, but most importantly, get out there and do something.